Is brought to you by Modelo.
It's over. It's over, Joe. It's over, Joe. It's over, Joe. It's over.
This is going to be it. That's it.
It's game over.
Wow. He separates.
Back to the center they go.
In MMA, one bad streak can destroy everything. Fans lose faith, rankings disappear, and suddenly, the fighter everyone once believed in looks finished. But sometimes the story takes a different turn. These are the fighters who hit rock bottom, suffered brutal losing streaks, and then shocked the world with incredible winning runs. There was a moment when fighters like Charles Oliveira, Dustin Poirier, and Michael Bisping looked completely finished. Losses kept piling up, and their futures in the sport looked uncertain. But instead of fading away, they rebuilt themselves and came back stronger than ever. These are 10 fighters who turned losing streaks into legendary comebacks. 10. Cyril Gane. When Cyril Gane arrived in the UFC, he looked like the future of the heavyweight division. His movement was smooth, his striking was technical, and he quickly built an undefeated record that pushed him straight into a title fight. In January 2022, he faced the champion Francis Ngannou in a fight many expected to be a striking battle. Instead, Ngannou changed the narrative of Gane's career in a single night. He used wrestling to control the fight and exposed a weakness that few people had noticed before. Gane lost the decision, and his undefeated aura disappeared instantly. Things became even worse the following year when he fought John Jones for the vacant heavyweight title. The fight lasted barely 2 minutes before Jones submitted him. 2 title opportunities had ended in painful defeats, and critics began claiming Gane had been overrated from the beginning. Rather than letting those losses define him, the French heavyweight returned to training with a renewed focus and began rebuilding his momentum. His comeback reminded fans that even elite fighters must adapt to survive in the most dangerous division in the sport. 9. Jorge Masvidal. For years, Jorge Masvidal had a reputation as a talented fighter who could never quite reach the top. He had the skills, the experience, and the confidence, but the results were inconsistent. In 2017 and 2018, he suffered frustrating decision losses against Demian Maia and Stephen Thompson. Those defeats pushed him out of the title conversation and left many fans wondering if he would ever break through. Masvidal even stepped away from competition for a while because he was unsure whether the grind of fighting was still worth it. When he returned in 2019, something about him felt different. In London, he knocked out Darren Till in front of a stunned crowd. A few months later, he produced one of the most famous knockouts in MMA history when he finished Ben Askren with a flying knee just seconds into the fight. The same fighter who had once been off subtitles / closed captions, copyright, open preview, suddenly became one of the biggest stars in the sport. 8. Benoit Saint-Denis. Benoit Saint-Denis had a brutal introduction to the UFC. When he made his debut in 2021, he accepted a fight on short notice against a heavier opponent. Elizeu Zaleski dos Santos at UFC 267 on October 30th, 2021, and spent 3 rounds absorbing heavy damage. The fight was difficult to watch. Instead of allowing that loss to break his confidence, Saint-Denis used it as motivation. Over the next year, he returned to the octagon with a completely different level of intensity. His fighting style became relentless and aggressive, mixing pressure, striking with dangerous grappling. One by one, his opponents began falling by submission or knockout. The same fans who had doubted him during his debut suddenly started calling him one of the most exciting prospects in the lightweight division. His rise showed that a fighter's first chapter does not always determine how the rest of the story will unfold. 7. Aljamain Sterling. Early in his UFC career, Aljamain Sterling looked like a future champion. His speed and grappling made him a difficult puzzle for anyone in the bantamweight division. However, in 2017, his momentum collapsed when he suffered back-to-back knockout losses against Marlon Moraes and Rafael Assunção. In a division filled with elite contenders, those defeats threatened to push him out of the title picture completely. Sterling refused to accept that outcome. He refined his strategy and leaned heavily into his grappling strengths, building a style based on relentless pressure and control. The results were immediate. Fight after fight, he climbed the rankings again until he finally earned a title opportunity against Petr Yan. After years of rebuilding his career, he eventually became champion and proved that setbacks can become the foundation of long-term success. 6. Tony Ferguson. Tony Ferguson's early UFC journey was far from smooth. Even after winning the Ultimate Fighter, he struggled to establish consistency inside the octagon. Losses early in his run made many observers question whether he would ever become a serious contender in the lightweight division. What happened next completely changed that perception. Ferguson began developing a chaotic and unpredictable fighting style that overwhelmed opponents. His strikes came from unusual angles, and his submission attacks appeared from nowhere. The results turned into one of the longest winning streaks in the history of the lightweight division. Over time, Ferguson transformed from an inconsistent prospect into one of the most feared fighters in the sport. 5. Leon Edwards. In 2015, Leon Edwards faced a young contender named Kamaru Usman. Usman won the fight convincingly, and the loss slowed Edwards' momentum at a time when he was still trying to establish himself. Year after year, he climbed the rankings while staying largely under the radar. Eventually, that persistence earned him a title fight against the same opponent who had defeated him years earlier. When Edwards challenged Usman again in 2022, the champion controlled most of the fight. With less than a minute remaining, Edwards landed a perfectly timed head kick that knocked Usman unconscious. The moment instantly became one of the most dramatic comebacks in UFC history. 4. Michael Bisping. Michael Bisping spent years chasing a championship opportunity that always seemed just out of reach. Several key losses prevented him from entering the title picture, and many fans began to view him as a permanent gatekeeper in the middleweight division. In 2016, he received a last-minute phone call offering him a title fight against Luke Rockhold. Bisping accepted the opportunity with only a few weeks to prepare. Almost nobody believed he could defeat the champion. Early in the first round, he landed a powerful left hook that knocked Rockhold out and shocked the entire MMA world. After years of setbacks and near misses, Bisping had finally reached the top of the division. 3. Dustin Poirier. Dustin Poirier's early career at featherweight included exciting victories, but also painful defeats. One of the most damaging came when he was knocked out by Conor McGregor. Many observers believed Poirier lacked the durability required to reach a championship level. When he moved up to lightweight, everything began to change. Poirier looked stronger, more confident, and far more dangerous. He defeated elite opponents, including Justin Gaethje and Max Holloway, during a remarkable run through the division. That surge eventually earned him the interim lightweight championship. 2. Glover Teixeira. Many fighters start thinking about retirement when they reach their late 30s, but Glover Teixeira was preparing for the greatest run of his career. After several defeats and brutal knockouts, critics believed his championship dream had already passed. Instead of retiring, he began a late career resurgence that shocked the entire division. Teixeira defeated multiple rising contenders and eventually earned a title fight against Jan Błachowicz. In 2021, he submitted the champion and captured the light heavyweight title at the age of 42. His victory became one of the most inspiring moments in the history of the UFC 1, Charles Oliveira. Few fighters have ever reinvented themselves the way Charles Oliveira did. Early in his UFC career, he was known for incredible talent but also painful inconsistency. He lost several fights and was finished multiple times in the first round. But everything changed when Oliveira began putting together a remarkable winning streak. Fight after fight, he finished elite opponents with submissions and knockouts. By the time he fought Michael Chandler for the vacant lightweight title in 2021, he had already become one of the most dangerous fighters in the division. After surviving a difficult first round, he returned in the second and knocked Chandler out to become UFC champion. The fighter who once seemed too fragile for the top had completed one of the greatest comebacks in MMA history. If you enjoyed this breakdown of incredible MMA comeback stories, make sure to like, comment on the video, and subscribe to the channel for more fight stories, career breakdowns, and unforgettable moments from the world of MMA.